G'day viewers, Prospector Pete here. Thanks for coming back for another video. This is going to be a really quick one. One of my viewers has requested to see where I get things from, like whereabouts on the circuit boards, what sort of items that the circuit boards come from, etc, etc. And that's a pretty good idea because, I mean, I just took it for granted that everyone knows. My bad. I know there's beginners out there. This probably will be more suited for beginners. I think most people probably would know. But for what it's worth, I'm just going to give you a rundown of a few things here. I don't have a whole lot of variety to show you. Mostly what I've been pulling apart today is TVs. Now a lot of these things I'm going to show you are on all kinds of circuit boards, from DVD players, TVs, computers, computer power supplies. I've got them. It's pretty much everything. I'm just going to show you what to look for, and then anytime you've got a circuit board in front of you, just scour over it and have a look and see what you got. Alright, so I'll turn the camera around. This is a Dell computer, the style where the whole computer is built into a frame, like a Macintosh sort of thing. Now, straight off the mark, there's an IC chip in front of my thumb here. And you can tell because it's got legs coming off it. And then next to it here is another one. And then behind the wire here is another one. Now, they're only small, but they all got gold and all add up. And then in front of my thumb here is some MLCCs. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe that only the non-magnetic ones are worth keeping. I believe that only the non-magnetic ones contain silver. Like I said, I could be wrong. So there's a plug here which may, I haven't looked yet, but may contain gold pins. Same with this one. There's a fair bit of wire here which goes into my copper wire, plastic coated wire bin, and sometimes, like that one there, gold plated inside. There's a word for these plugs. I can't think what it is off the top of my head, if I can hold it still. And they're gold plated in there. They're not all gold plated. Sometimes you see them and they're not gold, but this particular one and most of the ones I see are. Also, again, I've forgotten the word for it, but these plugs here, they're really good, and I like these ones. They've got gold fingers inside there. Same as this one, which I bent when I was undoing it. Let's see if I can snap that off with one hand. Show you what's inside. It's going to take cutters. No, there is gold pins in there. So moving around the board, just quickly, there's a long board here. There's some plugs here which may contain gold pins. They don't always, but they may. There's a IC chip there, IC chip there, IC chip there. These things, these round canisters here, are believed to be aluminium capacitors. They're no good, chuck them out, okay? While we're on the subject of those, if you're like me and you use a heat gun to depopulate your boards, please cut these off with cutters first, because every single time you hit one of these up with a heat gun and they're going to explode. They scare the crap out of me quite a few times before I learnt. Okay, so coming around here now to this board here. There's quite a few plugs along here. Ethernet, USB plugs are good. They've 9 times out of 10 got gold pins in them. And I like these ones. These are the phone and USB plugs. They've got nice gold pins in there. Most times, not always, most times they're full length coated. Again, some more aluminium capacitors. All these types of things, right? All aluminium capacitors. Some down here. Where are they? There. So we've got some more IC chips in here. As I said, you can tell the IC chips from BGA because they've got the legs on them. anytime there's legs on them. Now this thing here is quite good. It plugs into this little spot and out it comes. You've got some gold fingers. Nice. And then the plug that it came out of would have gold pins in there. And on the end here, the little gold round circle, that's because it had some of these connectors on them. See, there's gold plugs. Now that's all gold there. They're plated. But underneath that, on the board itself, is one of these little circles. And I usually take those off as well. There's a way that I've learnt to cut these off the board and leave that little round circle attached to the plug. But I can't show you one-handed. There's gold on the corners here. There's square parts on the corner. And you can see there's a couple of dots on the board as well. So these boards are okay to go in AP. I would depopulate the board first, get all the stuff off it with a heat gun or whatever. Underneath this metal, and underneath this metal would be, well, this is not metal, this is a sticker, but the other piece had a metal thing on it, would be usually an IC chip or flat pack BGA. There you go. That's a BGA, a flat chip BGA. Underneath this metal part would be one as well. There's a couple of small IC chips there. And this thing here, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's a resistor. It looks like it's a silver color, not silver, but silver color on top. And then around the outside of it, there's a gold band. Now, these are really good. If you look underneath it, you'll find it's like a purple ceramic. And inside and underneath this cap is some actual solid gold bond wires. And I've seen this for myself. I've seen someone has put them under a microscope. In any case, I put the whole thing, I crush it, I break it up with the cutters to make sure that the acid can get to it. And I put those in my nitric acid when I'm getting gold off pins, etc. So I quite like these. There's a lot more gold on the back, and another IC chip just there. Yes, they're small, but all gold is good gold. There's quite a bit of gold on that board, and they would just put it straight in AP without, I take all this stuff off. There's another one here. Out it pops. Nice gold fingers. Again, underneath this tin would be probably a flat pack BGA or an IC chip. And it also has gold on the corners here, little round circles. And sometimes they're copper, okay? So I'm not going to say they're all gold. Most times they are, but there are some that are copper. I can't seem to pick this sticker up to show you underneath the sticker. It feels like there's an IC chip or a BGA on there. And again, that plug would also have gold pins. And then there's some nice gold pins along here. And these things are just copper inside those, so you're wasting the time with those. Another aluminium capacitor. Now these blue things here, they're bridges. They bridge one of those pins to the other pin. And inside there, you can't see it from here, but there's normally a gold wire, a gold pin inside. And these are nice gold pin slots here where the RAM go on. This is a RAM stick, memory stick, and those little black chips on there are RAM BGA. So out of the flat pack BGAs and other sorts of BGAs that are soldered to the boards, apart from Gold Corner, these are the next best, the RAM BGAs. But they're all good to have. There's all lots of gold on them. And then you can see around the board, around the sides of the chips, there's gold as well. So, I mean, some people, I personally would cut these gold fingers off. Same with these other chips. And I would treat them separately, but the rest of the board would go in AP. But you definitely want to save these. Don't throw these out. There's going to be some good gold in those. And then again, another slot where there's going to be gold pins. Nice. Moving down the board, we've got some here, ICs, and another IC down there. And underneath here, this is a copper join to the fan, and I chop this copper off. It's nice and clean. I pull this metal that's only riveted on, and I put this copper in my stock pot. There's no point in buying copper or when you can reuse this. This is a heat transfer paste, so you wipe that off, don't put that in your stock pot. And then underneath this part here is your CPU. So you just pull this lever and up it comes. And then there's the CPU here. Now this is a fairly new one, you can tell because it's gold dots. And then they're getting scummy and cheap as they get on, and the newer things. Like anything, the older computers are much better, and they would have had gold pins. You put it on an angle like that and you would see gold pins. Nonetheless, still a bit of gold in there. Some more MLCCs there. On the back here, you've got a copper heatsink. This is all solid copper. And if you take that off, sometimes underneath on the other side of this copper heatsink, sometimes there's a gold plating and sometimes not. And when you do find them with gold plating, it's a nice thick coating. They're good to have. Now this is I would call this a CPU slot. Maybe it's got another word, I don't know. And there's gold in there. I'm going to do a video soon on getting the gold from these. That's yet to come. And then moving along, there's another board here, and that's got a flat pack BGA, and another one there, and a tiny one there. Got some plugs that may contain gold pins, I don't know without looking. There's some gold circles there, gold all over the board. Be another good candidate for AP. And there's another one of them little square things I told you with the gold inside. You can get them really, really tiny, you can get them nice and big. Now, I can't remember for the life of me the name of these red cords, but they have nice gold pins inside there. And then there's the hard drive, CD drive. Not really much more to show you on here apart from pulling those things apart, which I haven't yet done. I've only got to this point and thought I'd start recording. So I'll put this down and underneath here you can see a board, and all flat screens have got a board that runs all the way along, and sometimes there's a couple that go either side of the board, but there's nice gold fingers in there. This plug here has got gold fingers, but there should be lots of gold fingers all along the edge of the board. I'll show you what one looks like in a second. So I'll put this down and I'll grab some other boards. Okay, so there's a few other boards here I've put aside for this video. I would normally depopulate them or cut things off them as I get them, but I saved them up. So transformer here, copper wire inside there, aluminium capacitor, USB port which will have some gold fingers in there. This is the aerial port. I don't know what's in there, I can't remember. This is a jack for like your headphones and such. Sometimes they've got gold plating inside, sometimes not. These things I can't remember what the name of them is, but there's gold where these three legs meet the copper. See the plate there is copper plate, and inside this plastic or ceramic is gold bond wires. Very, very minute, but they're there. Some more plugs, another USB spot, so aluminium heatsink, and underneath that aluminium would most likely be a BGA of some sort, or IC. There's an IC there as well. Some plugs that may or may not contain gold pins. Without looking, I don't know. This little board here doesn't have gold pins. There's a tactile switch here. Some people say they've got silver in them. I did a video and I didn't have any luck with it. So the jury's open on that. You can decide. These blue things here, whatever they're called, they've got silver in them. This here could be a transformer, a relay. See if I can bust it off. Sometimes they're not and sometimes they are. Oh, if it's got a concave shiny section underneath, then it's not. Like that, that's not. If it's flat underneath, then there's a good chance that this casing on the outside comes off and you'll find some silver relays inside. So try and get rid of that. Some nice copper spools here. Bright copper wire, which is top dollar. There's another one of these things. I think they're called MOSFETs or something along those lines. In here, these things here got nice copper inside, nice bright copper wire. They're pretty good. I get a large supply of copper wire from doing all these little things. They look fiddly, but they all add up. Some nice wires coming off this. And gold connector on the end there, so I'll be trimming that off with scissors and keeping that. Just more wires. So it's that board there. Now this is what I was telling you about on a flat screen. So it's quite a long board. They're usually quite long. There's not very good lighting here, but I don't know. That's most likely going to be gold. There are some cheaper boards where this is all copper, these dots. Under this lighting, it looks like it could be gold. There's a nice IC chip here. A couple of small ones and some MLCCs. Again, I depopulate all this with the heat gun, scrape it all off. And apart from gold fingers, like on that side there, I would need to trim those off with scissors. And the rest of the board would go in AP. So there's that one. Here's another style from a smaller board, smaller TV, sorry, and even computer monitors are the same these days. So it's got the gold fingers all the way along. I've got some nice pins in here, usually gold plated pins, and then we've got an IC here. Just heat this up and get the other stuff off. Keep your MLCCs if you want, if they're non-magnetic. I would trim the fingers off this board, including the green part on this side. You want to have as little green board as you can, and then put the rest in AP. You can just put the whole thing in AP as it is if you like with the fingers on I'm talking about. You still want to get rid of all this off it. But I like to keep my fingers separate and treat them separately. There's a bit of gold on that board. Here's another board which came out of a flat screen TV. And it's got a nice IC chip there. Some more MOSFETs. Little ICs there. Some gold in the, well, that's copper in the corner, that's not gold. These plugs here probably don't have pins, gold pins. My experience, most white plugs don't have gold pins. Some more aluminium capacitors, they're useless. Don't heat those up, they'll blow up. These plugs here, where the ribbon cables go in, you can usually tell if they're going to be gold coated or not by the wire that comes out. If the wire that came out had gold ends, there's a good chance that's going to be gold. If it wasn't, then they most likely won't be. Some nice gold fingers in that one. So we got some fingers in these, gold pins I mean, inside these. And there's not much on the back of that one. This one here, another flat screen TV I just pulled apart. So we've got this board here, which has a nice IC chip, some nice gold pins in there. This, I believe, would be a silver oscillator, silver oscillator or something. Very, very tiny and hard to get the silver out of those ones. The bigger ones are better. Gold pins, aluminium capacitors, throw them away. Gold pins in the plug, maybe. Some more wire for the 50-50 grade of copper coated copper wire with laminate. Transformer, aluminium capacitors. This one right in front of my finger has copper wire wrapped around it. So that's not one of these. It's just a piece of graphite with copper wire around it. Aluminium heatsink. Some nice copper wire in there. Some silver and these blue things here. More aluminium. This is a transformer. So there's copper wire in there, but you can just put that in a transformer box. More ICs on the back. This board here, I love doing these. They're coils of bright copper wire. They're really fun to do. That I don't think that's a relay. I won't know until I take that off. Another MOSFET where there's legs going into the black part. There will be gold in there. Some more silver in these blue things. Sorry for not knowing the names. I'm not a computer guy. I just know how to pull them apart. There's some ICs. Another transformer. Aluminium capacitors. A nice coil of bright copper wire there. This should have copper wire inside it. Those pins aren't gold plated. More ICs on the back. And then you got USB plugs. So the other end of them was what I showed you before. With trying to find one now. So these things here, that's what these plug into. When you peel the metal away, there's usually some nice gold pins. Every now and then you'll come across some that don't have gold, but 99% of them do. And roughly where those little holes are on the plastic is where the gold stops. So you can just cut these off with cutters. And I keep all those pins separate, put them in a nice pile. And then you got other things here, like this is a hard drive out of a laptop. You can see there's some nice gold pins along here. And when you lift it over, you got a piece of foam and plastic. Take that off. This is a nice flat pack BGA, and this is an IC. There's a little, I don't know what you call that, but it's got some gold pins in it. They're easy to sort. Another IC. Another IC. Nice gold pins in there. And then on here, there's some gold just there. It's only foil on the ribbon. I just get a sharp blade, Stanley knife, and that peels off real easy. And I keep those, put those in some nitric acid to remove the gold from the foil. Now I haven't undone the front here because there's not a lot of gold inside. There's a tiny bit on the reader, but that'll be explained soon. I'll be doing a video in the near future. But other than that, all that's in there is aluminium and bits and pieces. There are some pins sometimes. On this gadget here, on the reverse side, there could be some pins. But it's hard to show. I haven't got the right tool at hand at the moment to undo these screws. I've got them here, but I just have to go looking for it. There's a larger out of a desktop hard drive. Same deal, you got your gold pins there. And on the reverse side of this board, I didn't take it off because it again needs those hex head Torx screws. Underneath that would be the same as the little one. There'll be some BGAs and some ICs. And there's usually some gold where that brown ribbon goes into that plug. These are classed as high grade boards, these ones. So that's pretty much all I've got to show for boards. I tried to have a bit of, oh, there's a small one I put aside. Another board from a small laptop hard drive. You can see another one of those little square things with gold inside them. It's got a gold band around the outside, and inside is a gold bond wires. They're really, really good if you get those. Keep them aside. You'd be interested to see how much gold comes out of them. So we've got an IC, a flat pack BGA, more ICs, another one of those things with gold pins in, and they're easy to pull out. Another IC there, good pins in it. So there's pins and gold stuff everywhere. Now there was something that I wanted to show, and give me 2 seconds to find it. Okay, so I've got this board out which I showed you before, but I remember I skipped past something. I recently did a video on transistors, and people have asked me, where do you get those from? Now if you look closely down here, there's one right there. It's round with flat side on it, one flat side. See there? They are transistors, and there will be 3 legs at the base of it. Sometimes, I'll see if I can snap this off. Sometimes they're gold plated, sometimes not. They usually just do a little bit of a wiggle and they snap off, but my big Neanderthal fingers, too big to get in this little spot. There's more on here somewhere. There's another IC down in there. I know I saw some transistors on there. A nice piece of copper in there, copper heatsink. I'll just have a quick look through my pile for another board. I know I've got some more transistors. There we go. So this is one that I meant to show you. There's a transistor. So you can see the 3 legs on it. That was the last competition giveaway. I did a video on these transistors. Now these you'll find on almost every board. Video players, TVs, computers. I know for a fact that power supplies have got them. There's another one just here. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're tiny, tiny, tiny. Sometimes there's loads of them. I've pulled apart a DVD player, and I must have collected 30 of these from the board. So there you go, guys. That's just a rundown of where I get things from. I wish I had more types of boards to show you, but like I said, I've got a mountain of TVs I'm pulling apart. Much of a muchness. Once you see what you're looking for, they're all the same. Just remember your ICs, you've got the legs on them. There's IC there as well. And your BGAs don't. You've got to keep them separate because there's steel here. BGAs don't have the steel, and they're soldered to the board. These soldered to the steel legs, usually through the back here. But the BGA chips, the whole back of the BGA has got solder on it, and it gets soldered onto the board. So BGAs need to be soaked first in hydrochloric acid to remove the tin and the solder. These legs here, you can cut these off, which means that this IC does not need to go in HCl. Unless, of course, like me, you use a heat gun and you melt the solder to pull the plug out, then it could contain some solder on the pins. But as a general rule of thumb, you keep your ICs away from your BGAs. You do your BGAs separately so that they can soak in hydrochloric acid before you burn them. This glass fuse, I know that there's a person, I won't name him, who's done a video claiming that there's silver in those. There could be, I'm not saying there's not, but I've tried doing them and I haven't had any luck with it. So I'll leave you guys to decide that for yourselves. Okay, so that's it. That's all I've got to show you. I hope this helps to some people. Anything you want to see or anything you want me to process, just let me know. This is your channel, so you guys get what you want. Okay, so catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.